This is the 500 Club. Each one of these speakers is $500. Competitive market, so let's go through it. All three of these speakers are AC only, meaning no battery, but they're easily run on an external battery source. If you're interested, I can give you a suggestion. So on the far left, we have the iP300 from TurboSound, an English company. In the middle, we have JBL EON710. And on the far right, the famous QSC CP8. Very similar speakers, sound signature. So let's go through it. The first thing I want to mention is weight. So the TurboSound is 26 pounds. And obviously it has that form factor. Kind of looks like a column array. And the speakers are set up in array style. Some people like the look of this over a subwoofer. It looks like a column array system. That's one reason why some people might go with this. The JBL is also 26 pounds, but it's kind of chunky. I would say it's the hardest to manage. And the lightest of the group is the QSC at 21 pounds. And there is a difference there. It's really nice, that 21 pound, 5 pound difference between the others. Talking about technology, JBL is the newest speaker of the bunch. QSC has been out since 2018, I believe. The JBL just came out about a year ago, and I'm not sure exactly when the TurboSound came out. A little older than the JBL. JBL has the highest technology. It has a really nice app. The TurboSound has an app, but it's very, very basic. It does have a 3-band EQ, and it does have reverb. The JBL, for some reason, does not have reverb. That's really an omission. I don't understand why they did that. But it has a much more entailed EQ section where you can really dial in the sound. The TurboSound is very basic. The JBL does have a mute function that the TurboSound doesn't have. I like to use that. And the QSC doesn't have any kind of app. Both speakers, TurboSound, JBL, have Bluetooth. The JBL has the latest Bluetooth 5.0, and again, the QSC, there is no Bluetooth. The QSC is considered more of a professional speaker. At least that's their philosophy. And the philosophy is pros don't use Bluetooth, and they don't use apps. So they just go strictly from a desk, a mixing desk. So that's probably the philosophy behind it. Some people say, when is QSC going to come out with a new model with Bluetooth? They might not. They don't want that reputation of a prosumer speaker. A weakness of the TurboSound that you have to be aware of is, for some reason, the line out. If you're using Bluetooth, it does not work. So if you want to line out a subwoofer while you're using Bluetooth, it's not going to work with the TurboSound. It will work with the JBL, and of course the QSC doesn't have Bluetooth, but it has the XLR out for a sub. As far as dispersion, the JBL the spec is 110 degrees, which is very good. The TurboSound, I couldn't find the spec. People report that it has a very nice wide dispersion, kind of like a column array, but there's no actual spec, so I'm thinking it's over 100. And the QSC is 90 degrees, more of your typical point source speaker. By the way, the JBL is also point source, and I would say the TurboSound is, I guess, a quasi line array. The QSC, by its name, CP8, has an 8-inch woofer. JBL EON710 has a 10-inch woofer. And the TurboSound has two 6.5-inch woofers. When you're looking at bass response, the JBL and the QSC is pretty much about even. I believe they go down to 52 or 53 HZ. You would think the JBL would have a better bass response with that 10-inch woofer, but I don't hear it personally. And the TurboSound has a good spec of 40 HZ. It goes down lowest of this group. Just my opinion, I would say all of these speakers need a subwoofer to sound their best. But if I had to use one by itself, probably I would consider the TurboSound the most full range speaker. Nice high end and the best lows. Looking at max output, a very important spec for myself when I'm considering carrying a portable PA speaker. I do tests personally, so I'm not going to give you the specs that the manufacturer gives at 1 meter. To me, that's not a valid spec, so I do my own testing, and I test at the same volume for each speaker at the same distance with the same track. So the JBL, I got 102 dB, and the TurboSound the same, 102 dB. Respectable, good volume, but when you go to the QSC CP8, I got 110 dB. So that is 8 dB greater than either one of these other two. And when you're looking at anything over 6 dB, your ears perceive double the volume. When you get to 10 dB, it is actually double the volume. So the CP8 is very close to actually being double the volume of these other two, and that is very, very impressive. I really am amazed at the dynamics of that little speaker. Warranty. TurboSound, your typical warranty of 3 years. JBL, I'm surprised they've upped their game. It is now 7 years. The only other speaker out there that has a 7-year warranty is the Yamaha line. So they're backing it up. And the QSC has a 6-year warranty. It's actually 5 years if you have to do the online registration, and then you get the extra year, 6 years. So there you go. JBL, 7 years is the best. Looking at the back, the TurboSound has a nice handle on the top, and I really like the handle on the side. It makes it really easy to mount up on a speaker pole or carry. The JBL is a little more difficult. It has the handle on top, but it has no handle on the side for some reason. When you go to the JBL EON710, they give you a handle on the side, but I guess they saved about $5 for that plastic handle. They omitted it on the 710. And the QSC is so light, you obviously don't need a side handle. It has a nice strong handle on the top. Okay, so going back to the TurboSound, you have an LCD screen and you have the app. Again, there's your XLRs out that does not connect through Bluetooth, I mentioned. The JBL is nice because you can control it from the LCD screen and the app. It has more functionality as far as the rear where you can control bass, treble, things like that. And the QSC is old school that many people prefer, and that is physical dials. And that is when you're gigging, you can immediately boost the volume by one click. And also it's just nice to visually see where you're at volume-wise. You know, you can tell exactly where you're at, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. It has some limited DSP, the QSC, adding a sub or without. The TurboSound cannot be used as a monitor, only on a speaker pole, and the JBL and the QSC are monitor ready, and the QSC is very popular for that use. Small little monitor for a live situation, but very powerful. So there you have it, the 500 Club. Each speaker, $500 exactly. Competitive market out there. Next up is your $600 type speakers with batteries. I'm thinking of the Bose S1 Pro. And then you have your eVerse 8, $750. So these are considerable savings. And then of course you have the next price range down, which is $400. And I'm gonna do a video about a speaker that is $399, $400, that is neck and neck with these speakers, and in some ways better. I'm not gonna tell you exactly what speaker that is right now, but you also have your $400 Mackie Thumb Go, which is a battery powered speaker. So let's wrap this up. TurboSound, I would say that's the most full range sounding speaker. So if you're not gonna use a subwoofer, that's the way I would go. people have reported they take their old hi-fi that they're not using anymore, and they'll get 2 of these TurboSound speakers in their den or living room with Bluetooth, and it sounds pretty good for a quasi hi-fi system, and then you can take it out for PA use. JBL and the TurboSound, I would say the high end is very, very similar sound signature, but the QSC is slightly better. I would say it's the king here of high-end quality. It's in my opinion the best. So there you go. Personally, my favorite of these 3 is the QSC CP8. It's the lightest. It's probably the most robust. I didn't mention that, but that metal screen on the front is really strong. The others are good too. But the fact that the form factor is smaller, is, you look at the JBL and you pick up the QSC, it's just so much easier to pick up and go. But it has the most volume. So I love the QSC CP8, but the other 2 are excellent speakers. I don't regret buying them. And it depends on what your needs are. If you need reverb, the only one that has it is the TurboSound, surprisingly enough. But most people, especially if you're a giggy musician, are going to be using some kind of small mixer, so that's not a big issue. And then, of course, if you need Bluetooth, it's the TurboSound or the JBL. But people have mentioned to me that you can now get a $20 Bluetooth module on Amazon. In the old days when I got one, it was $100, so that shouldn't really be a big factor either. Okay, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more information, more detailed information, or a sound test, which I'm not going to do, I've tested each one of these speakers individually, so go back and look at some of my past videos, and you'll get a lot more information. Hope you enjoyed. This is Bill. Later.